Good morning and cheers to Casual Friday retail trading team. This is your routine briefing, and I also got to say cheers to Barb as well. We're going to look at the results over the past couple days, and you will see that she has made up for her grumpiness uh, before. So we're going to let this trade work. We got a little bit spoiled with the past 2 days of tape for my various strategies. We'll see what happens the rest of today. It's looking like some rotational activity, as you'll see in the briefing here, and we will move on from there with minimal ums and ahs as we progress through this briefing. So I'm going to switch screens and I'm going to talk about what we got going on today. Okay, so first things first in the warm-up, pretty self-explanatory. On the inventory side, you saw that continued down move overnight. First, they tried to kind of push it up, and then around that 4 o'clock time frame, you saw that descent. So we have that overnight high near that 4,000 area again. You saw the rejection there for now. Remember that statistic that 95% of the time, or it might even be 98, very high percentage of the time, the overnight high or overnight low, overnight high or overnight low is touched. The low right now is around 39.37, and that high is about 39.99. So I think 98 something if we want to, excuse me, if we want to be particular. So we'll be watching that to see if that statistic is completed or if we have one of those outlier um, inside type days. And yeah, so you can see that the open drive that was bearish was quickly unwound. I think it was actually unwound at about 10:01. Let me see exactly when, or 10 o'clock. So that first 30 minutes you had up until 10 o'clock, that open drive look, the bulls quickly unwound it, and now we're kind of chopping around. You had that nice looking fake break a little earlier in the session, and then we kind of tried to break out here again, and now we're back to the whole chopping around the top of that 15-minute opening range. So we'll see what happens here. Like I said, the TPO seems to be rotational. You do have that B-shaped distribution, which tends to implies longs leaving the market. Yet we're seeing, or we're not seeing rather, that continued down move yet. So as I look at the screen, the bears are trying to make another move lower, and we'll see if they have any luck with that. Um, as the 1 second, I'm watching here to see if I get stopped out. Kind of hanging around this 15-minute opening range. So we'll see what happens there. There it is. So I did get that additional stop out, and I'm going to go ahead and actually take the short again because that's what the signals say to do. So this will be my final trade of the day, and we'll see what happens. Alrighty. So as we sell off, I'm going to continue just with the briefing and let that run in the background. Looking at our expected move zones, I think those are going to be pretty important today. So we are just kind of in the middle of both of them. Again, until we touch the overnight high, overnight low, it's looking like one of those inside type days. But, you know, the session is just beginning, so we'll see what happens as time goes on here. And then the levels for Barb are on the bottom here. So just to, why am I cheersing to Barb? Well, if you want to check out this document, you go to the description of this video and you can find it there. And perhaps most importantly for Barb is along the bottom, one of these bottom tabs here. If you just go to the futures trade log and you click on that, you can see what's been going on. So she was in a very steep drawdown. She actually more than doubled her prior drawdown from high. So big drawdown. So this is on a $50,000 account. So a near, let me see, let me do the exact math and I'll tell you. I'd have to see what the P&L was before that, but you know, steep drawdown. Anyway, point being, you look at the past 2 days, and she has more than emerged from that drawdown. She actually almost doubled her P&L in the year between that FOMC move, that really nice end of day for her style, and then yesterday was really nice as well for Barb. So that's kind of why I'm pretty excited about it. I was looking, if you're looking at the, if probably none of you were, but if anybody was looking at that results-based assumption forecast, you actually saw that this optimal F went as low as 0. So it didn't go into negative, so we didn't quite hit negative expectancy, but we got to 0, which is really interesting to me that we got to 0 on the dot without dipping negative. And now we obviously have emerged from that. We're looking good again. The optimal F almost matches the standard position size. So we'll keep adding data to see what happens there. Yet these past 2 days were really nice for a confidence boost for that strategy. And moving forward from there, just kind of I want to pull your attention to Fey as well. This is kind of just the simpler, kind of fading the edges, more standard scalping type day trading strategy. You can watch that as well, and you can see the results based assumption forecast on Fey as well. Say that 50 times fast. So again, I want a lot more data on this before I start trying to extrapolate. Yet Barb is getting pretty nice. We're into the nearing 400 individual trades, not including the first 2 months of the year where I just put the composite of the day. So occurrence is getting nice in there, and we'll see what happens as she progresses. And we'll be watching, monitoring her progress closely. So if you want to know the mechanics around that, in the description of the video, you'll see that routine trading folder. And if you just go to routine day trading, you can see the mechanics I'm using, and I'm very strict on the mechanics for both of those strategies. Nothing fancy, just good old-fashioned following the checklist. So moving on from the warm-up, let's jump into the actual price action portion of the day. We're not going to start with volatility, although that's what I've been staring at right before the briefing. We're going to start in the macro chart, which is SPY. Again, delayed data. I'll keep saying this for a while. I'm just because Sierra chart charges extra for SPY data and sets it structural. I don't see a point in needing to get the data. It's just a 10-minute delay, so no big deal. I'm just telling you that because you're going to see that this price does not match the price on your screen. Nothing's broken. It's just 10 minutes behind. So what I want to point out here are, first, we're below that 365-day VWAP again. We're below that 100 SMA, and now we're kind of straddling that 200 SMA. As we speak, let me see where we're below it. So we'll see if we push back up again, or if the bears can continue their move here to take us to either overnight low or maybe even lower. But again, it's that rotational look, so nothing would surprise me in the realm of tape action to the upside or downside. So we just want to look at what's going on relative to this SMA. Again, we are below it. SPY is at 391.30 right now. So watch what happens if we come up, test it, and get rejected again, or if we do reclaim it and continue that journey higher. Really, the main thing from this chart is what's happening relative to this downward trend line. Imperfectly drawn, but I do like the, you could probably adjust the wicks a little bit. However, just kind of watch how we went back up and tapped it on FOMC, got rejected. Now we have this nice outside bar candle. So this is going to be, I think, a decent supply zone moving forward until we do reclaim that higher high, break above this trend line, which is going to be, I think, a really important and significant move on the macro front, also because it'll push us above that 400 SPY. So really clear levels on the macro. As we continue to sell, obviously once we lose that 200 SMA, we're going to be looking towards this descending trend line from the 2022 top of the bear market, and that'll be important as we move down there. Are we going to get there today? Doubt it. Volatility is strong, yet that would be a really significant move, I think, to happen in one day. So that's kind of what I'm looking at on the macro front. These lines here I want to draw your attention to in case you do see an extended move sometime over the weekend. You never know with all these banks and various other potential, I'll say, black swan events. Although I say that a little bit cheekily because there seems to be a lot of those lately. Just kind of watch what happens around these VWAPs. So I don't think you're necessarily going to see a really large push to the upper one, but if you do see that large push to the downside, this 375 area, you can see that's kind of the the demand area from that December consolidation, and it also matches up with that outer fourth standard deviation VWAP there. So that's what I'm looking at on the macro chart. Again, main areas are that 200 SMA, the 365 VWAP because it's also stacked with the 100 SMA in this downward trend line, and then on the bottom side, demand side will say is this downward sloping trend line. So we'll be watching that again. I think today, just to keep it super granular in the day trading front, it's all about this 200 SMA. How are we going to end relative to that going into the weekend? So moving to let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Check my notes here real quick. Nice. So moving to the TPO, what's going on the TPO front? You still seeing that B-shaped look. So I'm going to maximize this real quick. Yesterday, so this area I haven't drawn it. I'll draw it right now. This created kind of a island value area reversal type look, which just goes back to what we are looking at, that outside bar candle on the SPY. Um, should be a decent supply zone if and when we do pop back up into it. And if we don't, it makes a lot of sense for us to continue this downward move. This is yesterday's profile, fairly balanced. At the end of the day, a little lower. Yeah, as you see in the overnight session, if I did merge these, I'm going to merge them real quick. You can see we have that B-shaped, perfect B-shaped distribution. So I'm going to remove that rightmost merge. And if you want to learn more about what these distribution stuff mean, I'm going to take you back to the warm-up document because I do find this to be very helpful. Little sheet is you just click on that. This is a redirect because NinjaTrader decided to do something weird with their blog where you can't see on their blog itself, but somebody did get a picture of it, and this explains to you the various profile types, and you can see what that B shape typically means is that the longs are leaving the market. So we'll see if that holds. Just kind of watching that again, big picture. If we want to get a little more granular in the TPO today, it's all about that rotational look. You have that decently wide IBR of 35. It's wide for, not wide really in my opinion for where volatility is, but just from what we've been seeing recently, that is one of the wider IBRs. So kind of looking for that speed and aggression away from edges, and we'll see if that holds. Stand by here. Okay, I'm just kind of seeing what's going on. Price action wise, looks like we're trying to continue the bounce a little bit. Let me look around on my own little charts here. Okay. Just kind of getting my bearings real quick. So yeah, so TPO front, really today, there's not much MGI to watch. So if we do get that move above, watch what happens around this single. I think that I don't find that single to be particularly important. I think it's really going to be more about that overnight high if we do pop it and what happens around that all important 4,000 area on the ES. So besides that, this 55.75 is a naked POC. For now, I mean, we'll probably continue rotating around it. We may even touch it within the next few seconds. Yet watch how price action develops relative to that 55 area. Seems to be super important today. If that's the POC on the TPO as well as just my standard volume profile chart over here. So we'll be watching that area closely. And again, just we want to see if we move toward those extremes, be it overnight high, overnight low, how does price react to those? But really not much MGI in the TPO today. There's obviously quite a void below us. I don't think we're going to go after this 88 area just because of that rotational look. Yet, of course, anything can change as the session progresses. But I'm really watching the upside, that single in that 4,000 area, and this just standard 39.55 POC area. So one last little price action component, and it's going to be the one that we always end with, and that is volatility. So what's going on with the /VX? Well, we're in this little consolidation pattern here. I drew those green lines because I don't pay too much heed to these intraday VX patterns. It has been said that trying to chart volatility is a chart crime, and so although I do that secretly for the purposes of briefing, I'll keep it green so we're not watching it too closely. But you're seeing this consolidation. We're kind of stuck between, there's just a bunch of support and resistance zones. I just have horizontals everywhere on this chart because we're in such a wide range. The range continues to be from about 22 to, let's say, 28. That's a $6 range in volatility. A lot of chopping around there. So intraday, obviously, I'm watching this little consolidation that we have going on here. Do we break out and push a little bit higher? Or do we break through it and start revisiting some of these lower areas? Again, the way I think you got to look at volatility right now is just in a wide range. People trying to figure out what the heck is going on. VIX itself is above 20 quite convincingly right now. It's actually at about 24, up six and some change on the day. So that's just a component of the volatile global macro environment that we have going on right now. And so as we just kind of get our bearings in the big picture, the sentiment kind of remains the same for me. I'm watching, so you see volatility. I'm watching the macro picture more than anything if I'm trying to use that crystal ball. And the question is, are we above or below these two trend lines? So the ones that are solid yellow are the two most important ones for me. We're stuck between right now, implying that slightly bearish consolidation. Why is it slightly bearish? Because the VIX is above 20. I think that's really um, for me at least, that's all I'm looking at in the macro is where are we relative to those trend lines, where is volatility relative to that 20 number. So right now, everything's in the middle. We're around that 200 SMA as well. It implies chop, it implies uncertainty about direction, and it kind of um, lends itself to explain why volatility is in such a wide range. So that is really the crux of it. And we'll see. I'm going to go to this chart so we can look at our daily levels one more time. You can see the levels in yellow are where I am watching for significant activity. These two zones just encompass, kind of junky, clumped cluster of levels. Really, the entire day is all about this cluster from about, let's say, 65. Was this the exact level here? 64 to 37. So we'll see what happens relative to that. That's just kind of that's kind of the day. It's going to be probably rotational, probably trappy. As I probably mentioned at the beginning of the briefing, we got spoiled with the past 2 days of tape. If you are a trendy type trader like I am, and even if you're a scalper, today is not so good so far unless you're keeping it super tight with like 5 point ranges or whatever. So yeah, so again, everything's available in the description of this video, and I'm gonna move the live stream to Twitch from here. 12 o'clock. Gonna play a nice little set. I'll probably be out of this trade by then. So like I said, this is my final trade of the day. I am very strict about that 3 strike policy. And yeah, we're gonna have fun no matter what. And if you love those rough and semi-painful transitions, I can provide those for you, and I'll be happy to do so at about noon on Twitch. And until then, I'll just be streaming this live without commentary or anything, unless you want to talk in the chat or whatever. As always, by the way, please feel free to tweet Routine Trader with your thoughts. I like engaging on the Twitter. I don't really post crystal ball type stuff anymore because, um, I feel like that I'm contributing to a negative culture of FinTwit, which is trying to predict the future. I think it's most important to just keep tabs on what you see at the beginning of the day and your levels as the day develops, more than some of my semi predictions on Twitter. So I'm not really going to be too about those. What I am going to do in a little bit here is incorporate that debrief once in a while. Yesterday, I wanted to, just something came up, so I wasn't able to. But I think just kind of reviewing the day after, so kind of like a pre-session like we do here, the briefing, and then kind of reviewing the day after, less noise in between, just so it's not distracting. And frankly, it's a little distracting to me as well. So I will engage with you though on the Twitter, so I'll post a newsletter there. If you're not a subscriber, by the way, you can sign up uh, in the description of this video, retailtrading.com. Uh, so I'll post that, and if anybody wants to comment or tweet at me or whatever, I'll still engage you there. And anyway, point of that digression is you're not seeing too much intraday posting on the Twitters, and that is why. Um, Besides that, you can also leave comments in the section of this video if that is more convenient to you. I appreciate any of those. Thank you, Mr. Ernie, for the compliment yesterday. It really warms my heart, and I do sincerely appreciate it, though. So my headset just turned off, which means this is probably a little long-winded. So I'm going to go ahead and enjoy it there. Ask for a like if you did enjoy today's content, and wish you a good weekend. And hopefully you stay classy until we speak again.